Locker Room, with all the sports news you need, live.
Good afternoon, welcome along to the Friday edition of The Locker Room. I am Graham Duffy and I'm delighted after last Sunday I am not on my Jack Jones this time. I'm delighted that I am joined again like I was last Friday by the one and only Stephen Rayside. Stephen, how are you doing, my man?
Okay, I'm just about recovered from Dick Turpin making an appearance at Ibrox last Sunday and stealing 3 points for Rangers. But I was at the game and I'm thinking, God, I'm going to be able to get back on the locker room next Friday with a correct prediction that we've actually got something. But how we never get a point, I don't know. I do not know.
Oh, don't worry, we'll come to that very shortly. So we've got a lot to get through. We're going to look obviously back at the Viaplay Cup games from the week. We'll also look back at the games this weekend. Stephen, though, I know that you have been watching the Ryder Cup. So what is the score in the Ryder Cup so far? Because when I saw it this morning, Europe were 4-0 up. So what's happening now in the Ryder Cup?
Well, John Rahm just had an eagle putt to tie the match. It was 5 to 5.5. If John Rahm never made that putt, the USA would have had a full point, but thankfully he sinked an eagle putt in the 18th and it is 6-1 to Europe, so that match was tied. But the highlight of the afternoon, Matty Fitzpatrick, wow, honestly the first 6 holes I think he was 5 under on his own personal score. Europe were about 5 or 6 up in that match through 7. So incredible performance for him and McIlroy and a great start in Rome for the Europeans.
Europe have been pretty dominant so far, haven't they? Did anyone actually expect Europe to be quite this good?
I don't think, when you look at the USA team, they've got great players in there, the likes of Spieth, Scotty Scheffler. They've got a really strong side, and to go and win the morning session 4-0 was huge. I thought the US would definitely have got a point for that morning session, but Shane Lowry pulling it out of the bag this morning, and we've steadied the ship because there was a couple times in that afternoon session where you were thinking that USA might have been up in 3 to 4 matches, but those half points, they really count come Sunday. So big results for Europe this afternoon.
Yeah, fantastic stuff from Europe. Hopefully we can keep that going. Before we do get into the other games, though, on Tuesday night, I know that our colleague James was watching this while I was watching the Kilmarnock Hearts game, and obviously you were at the game on Tuesday night. But Scotland women played on Tuesday night in the Nations League, the second game against Belgium, after a great performance against England a few days before that. Now, I obviously did the show last week and talked about this as well, but Stephen, I know you've seen this now. Before I get back onto the Scotland game on Tuesday there, you've now seen this, and I spoke about it last week as well. How on earth that penalty was not given against England is an absolute disgrace.
Honestly, I don't know how it's not given. She comes right through the back here. It is an absolute stonewall penalty kick. I don't even know in any way how you can think it's not. And I know VAR's not in use in the stadium because Sunderland did a championship side, and so their stadium doesn't have VAR installed, which was a nice wee. I think the English thought that one through before the game. But no, listen, what a performance for the girls, by the way, to go away to a side who are just runners-up in the World Cup and put in a performance like that. We really should have took something for that game. That was the story of my weekend, actually. I felt like Scotland should have took something against England. I went and watched my dad's side, Gartcairn, and St Cadoc's that had a draw written all over it, and then St Cadoc's scored with 5 minutes to go. And then obviously we'll go on to Ibrox a bit later on. So that was the story of my weekend last weekend, near my season. But no, listen, good for them to get a point against Belgium, goal in the last minute at Hampden. Any point's a good one, so it's a really tough group they've got. So a positive to take out of Tuesday night.
Yeah, absolutely. Scotland got a draw. Sophie Howard scored in the last minute, but unfortunately, there was a rather serious injury for Caroline Weir, the Real Madrid midfielder. The 28-year-old suffered a ruptured anterior cruciate ligament after a few rough challenges that I know that Pedro Martinez-Losa was not happy about. And that also came when training as well, where Emma Watson, the Man United midfielder, also suffered the same injury. Stephen, it's a massive blow, not just for Scotland, but for Caroline Weir, because she is such a massive, massive player for Scotland.
Yeah, she's pivotal in that midfield for us, and it's absolutely sickening, those kind of injuries. I mean, hopefully she makes a great recovery, because I actually thought she had a really good game on Friday night against England, and then obviously she's played a part on Tuesday night and picked up an injury. It's no good. They take a while to recover from, but hopefully she comes back just as good as she has been, because those injuries can be quite difficult to recover from and get back to your usual self.
Yeah, absolutely. We wish her and also Emma Watson all the very best. Hopefully they get back soon.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, Scotland are in a really good place. So great performance against England. They should have got a point. They got the point on Tuesday and probably should have won the game. They've got difficult games to come though, because they do play Holland next month, and in December they've got a double header against Belgium and England. But women are in a great place just now, so all to play for. But on Tuesday night, I was watching the game on TV. Stephen, you were at the game. Kilmarnock 1, Hearts 2 in the Viaplay Cup. A massive, massive win for Hearts. The people that were watching the game couldn't have failed to notice the banner that was in the Hearts end that basically said, funded by fans, run by clowns. Hearts fans not happy, but they were happy at the end of the game. Certainly I was anyway. So Hearts went 1-0 up through George Grant's goal in the 40th minute. Kilmarnock equalised in the 68th minute through Brad Lyons. But just when it looked like the game was going to extra time, Alex Lowry stepped off the bench, and 50 seconds later, he wins the game for Hearts. Stephen, you were there as a neutral. What did you make of the game?
I thought, if on the balance of playing, the first half, Hearts were by far the better side. They looked more composed on the ball. I thought Kenny Fargas's pace was causing Kilmarnock all manner of problems in behind. I thought Forrest had a real good game as well, but one player that impressed me in the midfield was Neuenhoff. I thought he had a really, really good game on Tuesday night. And the first goal, by the way, nobody's speaking about how that's a great goal. It's put inside the Shankland. He lays it off perfectly for George Grant, and great finish for the edge of the box. But you were expecting a reaction to Kilmarnock in the second half, and you got it. I thought if anyone was going to go on and win the game, Graham, I have to be honest with you, I thought it was going to be Kilmarnock with the balance of the second half and the way the second half was going. But then that's what happens when you get a player that can produce a bit of magic, and it's been missing for Hearts this season. And Alex Lowry, and what a finish. I noticed the Kilmarnock Twitter said that he bundled it over the line. Where did he get that from? He absolutely sells the defender for a hot dog and slots it in the bottom corner. What a goal it was, and you'll be delighted going to Hampden in November.
Well, apparently, I heard another radio station, or one of the Hearts guys I listen to quite a lot, and he basically said that he actually spoke to the guy that does the Kilmarnock Twitter about that bundled in thing, and apparently the guy didn't actually see it. He was doing a few other different things, and all he saw was Lowry put the ball in the net and a defender on the line, so he assumed it was bundled in, so that's why he put that on. He didn't actually see the goal happening, so that's why he put bundled in on his Twitter.
There you go. There's a wee lesson for the guy doing the Kilmarnock tweets. Always check with somebody around about you how it was scored before you put the tweet out. But no, listen, I think Hearts, they've got a tough run of games coming up, as we've discussed in previous weeks, but I don't think they should be going into that game against Rangers with any fear whatsoever, because I've yet to see a Rangers side, even though they won 4-0 the other night, put in a performance that is worthy of wearing a Rangers jersey, and I'm sure that Rangers fans will agree with that statement.
Yeah, we went into that game on Tuesday, as you'll see with the banner, under a lot of pressure, under Stephen Naismith under pressure. That was a massive win for him, but I do agree, because I actually put a tweet out in the second half after the Lions equalised to say, if any team's going to win this, it's going to be Kilmarnock. I thought first half, I thought Hearts were very good. I thought we controlled a lot of the game. I thought George Grant getting his first start of the season was really impressive. And I did say as well on Twitter, and you mentioned it there, I thought Neuenhoff was excellent. He's getting better every game he's playing. Lawrence Shankland obviously lays on both the goals. Were you surprised at Kilmarnock in that first half? Because how they played second half was how I thought they played the first half.
I don't think they were high up in the game enough in the first half. I don't think they were getting their foot on the ball, weren't putting themselves in positions to win enough second balls and gain enough territory. I would have been, if I was Derek McInnes, I'd have been saying to my side in that first half, let's get after this Hearts side early on because they're vulnerable. But it was quite the opposite. They actually allowed Hearts to settle into the game, and that's what you can't do with a side that's low in confidence. You need to hit them early, and I think that they missed a real opportunity there, and then they were chasing it second half. And Derek McInnes even alludes to it at 1-1. It looks as if they're chasing the game and they don't need to. Just settle for extra time. They were the better side. Momentum was in their favour, and they leave themselves with too much to do because they've got not enough time after Lowry gets the winner. So yeah, I was really surprised with Kilmarnock actually, and that's been a theme for them all season. And something that would worry me if I was a Kilmarnock supporter, the amount of late goals that they're conceding at the minute.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me on one of the things that were on one of the WhatsApp chats were on. They do that a lot. But I mean, I do think that Kilmarnock in that first half did sit off us. And you mentioned that first goal. It's a great goal. Kai Rowles has had a lot of criticism from myself included.
I was going to mention him.
Yeah, he actually starts it off with a really good run from his own inside his own half, lays it off the shank. It's a great touch and a great finish from George Grant. But Kai Rowles has a lot of criticism. I do still think at times, I thought when they got the ball up to Vassell did turn him a few times, but Rowles was actually all right on Tuesday. He's been better than he has been recently.
I thought he was really good on the ball, just carrying it forward and getting these up the pitch. I'm sure he made a similar run in the second half as well. I actually thought he was someone that I was looking at going into the game as a neutral because I heard you guys talking about him and mentioning him. So my player cam was on him, if you like. I was really focused on his performance, and I thought he had a couple of moments where there was a little bit, but for the majority of the game, he was really solid.
You spoke about him before we came on air there, Alex Lowry. Now, he came on within 50 seconds, he scores the goal. It's a great goal. And you mentioned the fact he needs to get more game time. I agree with that. Do you think that Alex Lowry could be a massive play for Hearts this season if he gets that game time?
Do you know what I would try and play him? Because you've got Forrest, you've got Vargas out in the wings. I would be looking to play Alex Lowry in the middle and behind the striker and behind Alon Shanklin, because we spoke about that last week, how Hearts are really missing that creative spark from the middle of the pitch. You've tried it with Barry Mackay in instances. I would really like to see Alex Lowry deployed in that number 10 position, starting in the middle and drifting out wide and maybe making runs like that. So I don't know what you think about that. Is that something that you would agree with?
Yeah, I think he is more of a number 10 to me than a winger. You know, we played against Pauk in one of the European games and he came on and he played left wing and it didn't suit him. He is, for me, more of a natural number 10. But on the back of what I saw on Tuesday, I don't think you're going to drop George Grant because I thought he played very well and he's not been seen a lot this season. Yeah. So I think we now have decent options there. I think it's, for me, what I've noticed now on Tuesday, and I don't know if you maybe see this yourself as a neutral, I now don't think that Lawrence Shanklin and Liam Boyce can play together a partnership. I just don't think it works.
I mean, you even look at the goal. I thought Boyce was quiet the other night, if I'm being brutally honest. And you look at the goal, he has a shot, and it he's lucky because it ricochets back to him, and then it finds its way to Lowry. I'd agree with that. I think that it's got to be one or the other for me. I've yet to see any signs of them being a real partnership. I can't remember a game where I thought, oh wow, that's really good link-up play between Boyce and Shanklin. I don't remember that happening, but you watch Hearts a lot more than me, so if you're saying it, then it must be the case. Out of the two, I would probably drop Boyce and keep Shanklin, because Shanklin's a goal machine, isn't he?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, obviously we'll touch on it more during the Ross County Hearts preview, but is that now a case where Hearts have got to now build on that? Because I've seen a few false dawns recently. Obviously, we beat Aberdeen, then we lost to St Mirren. We've now beat Kilmarnock. This can't be a kind of Jekyll and Hyde thing. We've now got to build on that tomorrow, because like you mentioned, and I put on Twitter a few days ago, after tomorrow, we play Hibs at home, Celtic at home, Rangers away, Livingston at home, and then Rangers in the Cup. They are not going to be easy fixtures.
No, they're not. And if you don't win tomorrow, you're really worried as to where the points are going to come from, because we'll get on to it. Nick Montgomery's Hibs side are playing. They look as if they're picking up. So It's a must-win for Hearts tomorrow because they're going away to a Ross County side who have just been beaten back-to-back against Aberdeen, and so they'll be winded. I think they'll look to start that game fast, and if you don't win tomorrow, Graham, I would start to worry. I'm sorry, mate.
No, I completely agree with you. In terms of Kilmarnock, what do you think Derek McInnes can take from that? Because obviously they've now lost on Tuesday. They drew last week away to Dundee. They drew the week before that against Hibs. Is it just a case of what you mentioned earlier on, the fact they are losing far too many late goals? Is that going to be a major concern for McInnes?
They need a scrappy win. They need a scrappy win. They're not going to watch this to go win 4-0 tomorrow. Now that I'm about to say this, but they're not going to go and blow a team out the water. They need one where they grind it out, and it's things in football can become habits. Losing can become habits. Winning can become a habit, but so can conceding goals late on. I mean, it's a really bad symptom to have through your team, and it's something that they need to eradicate pretty quickly, because they won't find themselves up there as everybody's been tipping if they keep conceding late goals. So it'll be interesting to see if they do have a lead tomorrow, how their game management is in the last 10 minutes. But I think it's a really tough fixture that they've got coming up against St Mirren. Even though St Mirren lost, they always seem to find a way to score a goal. So, yep, all the pressure on Kilmarnock tomorrow.
I still feel, for me, as a neutral, I still feel that a lot of what Kilmarnock need is a clinical finisher. They've got defenders who can score goals like Stuart Finn, Robbie Dees, for example, and obviously they've got the goal from Brad Lyons. They've got Daniel Armstrong that can chip in with goals, but they don't, for me, still have that clinical striker up front. I think Vassell does a lot of great work. He's real unselfish, but for me, he just doesn't score enough goals.
They're in a similar position to us, strikers now, because of the injuries that we've got, where they're kind of relying on goals from midfield and maybe a defender to pop up with a header. And it just highlights how difficult it is for sides like Kilmarnock to go out and find a clinical striker. It's very rare that you'll find the finished product at Kilmarnock, so it's about finding the wee gems. And listen, it's not easy, but I do think that they've got players in their team, like you mentioned, that can hurt teams. I'm a big fan of Dan Armstrong. Think he's a fantastic player, and I thought Matty Kennedy was great second half the other night. So they've got players that can threaten in the wings. Again, as you say, they're just missing that prolific goal scorer. I wonder what Kilmarnock fans would do to get somebody like Eamon Brophy back at Kilmarnock.
I think they'll snap the hand off for that.
Yep.
Let's move on to Ibrox, where Rangers comfortably beat Livingston by 4-0. Sima in the 10th minute, Yilmaz scored in the 66th minute, an own goal from DeLuca on 84 minutes, and Ryan Jack on the 92nd minute. Now, Rangers would have won that game very comfortably, but I always hope when I come on the show that I'm not going to talk about VAR, but I am going to talk about VAR here, because that first goal for Rangers, they would have won the game anyway, I think, but that first goal for Rangers, how Willie Collum has not got on the monitor and checked that, because Sima clearly pushes Jamie Brandon and he's not been asked to go and look at that. For me, it's a dreadful decision.
How he's not been advised by VAR to go and look at it is beyond a joke. And I've seen John Barnes come out and say something during the week that the conversations between VAR officials should be allowed to be broadcast on TV, and I completely agree with that. Because as much as you can say it's the wrong decision, at least if you're hearing an explanation, it gives you a clearer idea of what they might be seeing. But I don't know what they're seeing. You said Sima in the 10th minute. I was going to correct you and say you should have said Willie Collum in the 10th minute, because listen. You're right in saying that Rangers probably go on and win the game, right? But Livingston it was still only 1-0 up to about 60 odd minutes, and Joe Newbley has the ball, and he has a chance where he's in a similar position to Sima, and he's got options in the middle, and he chooses to have a shot when there's defenders in front of him rather than square it to someone in a better position. These kind of decisions change games, and you know the one I'm going to mention. How somebody can say that that's not a foul on Tuesday night and say that Brodie Spencer fouled James Tavernier on Sundays, I'd love an explanation on it, because if it was the other way around, there would be letters written to the SFA and all sorts. It's it's really confusing. I don't mind, right? I just want the decisions to be right. And the only thing that's consistent in Scottish football at the minute is the inconsistency of decisions. And that's why it's so frustrating for supporters.
Well, I obviously doing the show last week, I spoke about the games last week, and I still I'm not even a Dundee fan, but I was raging at that Dundee red card given last week, even though the referee is actually got the monitor, but he still gives his decision. I find that mental as well, because for me, like I said last week, that's not a sending off for the Dundee player. It's not high, he's not late. Yes, it's a bit rash, but it's a yellow card. So obviously the VAR guy said to the referee, I think you've got that wrong, go and look at it again. He's looked at it and still sent the guy off. I just found that utterly, utterly baffling.
It's bizarre, and it's important that we highlight out how bizarre that decision was, so that people don't think that this is some agenda towards or against Rangers that we have, because it's not. It's officiating in general. It's just so poor in this country, so poor. I mean, like you say, he's not high, it's not reckless, it's not a red card. Yellow card, got on with the game. And I know Dundee still managed to get something from it, because Kilmarnock like conceding late goals, but sending off change games, so it's imperative that the referees get these decisions right.
There was actually a challenge, I think it was the second tap by a Kilmarnock player, Jordan McGee, that looked worse. He was off the ground, he was high, but he only got a yellow card. I can't remember who it was, but he only got a yellow card for it. That looked worse than the one that the Dundee guy got sent off for.
Like you say, this here then this highlights the inconsistency that we're talking about. I don't know what the answer is. The referees came out and explained their decisions to me. I wouldn't like to see that. I don't think referees should be interviewed, but I do think that we should be able to at least hear what the VAR officials are saying, so we know how they come to the decision that they do come to.
Well, as you can probably tell, we've got an unexpected guest on the show tonight. He's not been around for a while, but we've got Dave on. Dave, how you doing?
Yeah, very well, thanks, Graham. Stevie, just to go to your point there, Rory Hamilton made that exact point on social media Wednesday. Just regards to, obviously, how it works in rugby with regards to officials getting... they've obviously got listening mics in their ears and all that. There should be the same in football. For me, there's a lack of transparency in society. There's a lack of transparency in our game in Scotland, and we've got to learn a lot from the rugby. And I'll say about now, rugby's not everybody's cup of tea, and I'll fully acknowledge that. And everybody's going to absolutely berate this channel right now and go, rugby's not everybody's cup of tea. And they absolutely hate the living death out of rugby for some people. But the point is that football can learn a lot out of rugby. Yeah. There'll still be talking points out of it, but at exactly the same time, we'll learn a lot out of how they operate at rugby level, and ultimately it'll make our referees better. But it's never going to happen, and we're going to be saying exactly the same things again.
No, yeah, Dave. So I was just going to say we're talking about the game on Wednesday, Dave, about the Rangers game, and they wouldn't have beat Livingston anyway, I think. But that first goal, and I know that David Martindale wasn't happy about it, I mean, I don't understand. And if you actually watch Seaman's reaction as well, even he kind of stops as if to say, well, that'll be a free kick. I don't understand how Willie Collins not asked to go and look at the monitor and say, actually, I've got that wrong. It's just a really poor decision, because that's a foul on Jamie Brandon all day long.
Yeah, well, I haven't listened to your earlier conversation, Graham, because I've obviously been busy feeding my belly, but yeah, with regards to the first goal for Rangers, that's quite simply an abysmal incident as far as the officiating team for that game's concerned. But yeah, I mean, the Ross County Aberdeen game, I'm reading reports in the paper today that Malky Mackay's wanting an emergency meeting with SFA. I can't disagree with Malky, because let's be honest, as the having been involved in a Scottish League club myself, and I'm away from that Scottish League club, so I can come out and say it publicly now. I'm a big believer that the VAR and the implementation of VAR in the top flight has declined the high stand. Sorry, I'll reiterate that. I'll go different to that. They're nowhere near the levels that they were prior to VAR, and let's be honest, we're on a hiding to nothing. I noticed a thing. I noticed a report yesterday. I don't know who put it on Twitter, but I've seen something anyway that Saudi Arabia are considering taking in referees from Europe. The photo, I can't remember who it was now, but the photo, they had Douglas Ross on it. And the counter story is, I can understand why Douglas Ross's Cooper was on it, because let's be honest, he's one of the bad ones out there. But yeah, I haven't seen it myself in front of my own eyes, but working at the Scottish League Club last season, I know the officiating standards aren't just the top flight now, how mediocre they are at best. It's scrolling down the leagues as well, and this is where we've got to improve standards massively. I mean, from a Ross County perspective, obviously they had 2 players go to hospital, and I think I read something that I don't know if it was through our fellow colleague on the show or no, it was through a journalist. I think it was through a journalist that players were in the hospital till 4 and 6 in the morning from Ross County just because Monkey Mackay said to the written press after the game on Wednesday that I think it was the guy Sims had his leg cut open and it was bleeding. Which, yeah, I don't think VAR was obviously in place on Wednesday because it wasn't mandatory for that game to have VAR. But exactly the same time, it's decisions right in front of you. It's mindset in front of you. It's eyes in front of you for the decisions. I mean, last Friday night, the striker for Scotland, and I've forgotten her name now because it's been that much. There's been that much going on this week, but there was a striker for Scotland last Friday who got bundled over in the area by English player at 1-0 up to England. And I know it's not Scottish officiated, but that's another abhorrent decision. Quite simply dictates where our game is just now.
Yeah, we spoke about it earlier on. I mean, Stephen, I listened to a podcast on Wednesday after the games, and one of the pundits basically said, we need to do more to help referees. And I'm sitting there thinking, what more help can they need? They've got VAR in for that whole reason to help them out. Yet the referees are still making really poor decisions. I mean, what more can you do to help them?
I don't know. Can maybe retrain them. I honestly don't know. I honestly do not know. It's weird, right? Because a lot of times when pundits or co-commentators are looking at decisions, they see the same thing that every fan sees and they get it right. So why did the referees all of a sudden see something different? I don't understand it. I don't know if there's maybe a case for having an ex-player in the VAR room. I don't know. But they do need help, and because it's so frustrating as a fan, week in, week out. The reason that VAR was brought in was to stop us talking about refereeing decisions. Yet all I seem to be talking about every single week.
It'll never change, mate. It'll never change. But on the game itself, Rangers did go on to win quite comfortably, and I think they would have done anyway. I think, Dave, Rangers had to win that game. There's been a lot of pressure on Michael Beale. They did win the game 4-0. Can you still understand why Rangers fans are still not quite convinced by Michael Beale yet? I think you're on mute, mate.
No, still can't
hear you, mate.
There we go.
No,
Still can't hear you.
There we go. Got you.
Sorry, there we go. Yeah, no, I think just because it was Livingston. I mean this with the greatest respect to Livingston. I think people look at that in simple analogy by saying it's Livingston, which should be winning this game comfortably, but winning the game by scoring goals, but also winning comfortably by playing with style and purpose. But we know how Livingston are. We know how they're going to be very solid defensively. We know how they're going to be compact. But they know how they're going to have a low block. They know how they're going to have loads of time up without the ball, but they're also going to have times where they are going to soak up pressure and then try and hit Rangers on the counter. And I'll be honest with you, the foul that you've alluded to there, Graham, that obviously took the stuffing out of Livingston, because let's be honest, Rangers were nowhere near the game prior to that first goal taking place. And that's the thing. As much as Rangers are winning games just now, at exactly the same time, it's games against Livingston, it's games against Motherwell, where they were underwhelming. Stephen will obviously concur with that.
That's an understatement.
With all due respect here, I mean this with greatest respect to Stephen as well. Motherwell are probably in the same bracket as Aberdeen here when it comes to calibre of opponent. But when you look at Aberdeen, when you look at Hibs Hearts, I know they've obviously got Hibs and Hearts coming up, I think, if I'm not mistaken. That's the games alongside Celtic and Europe that, for me, judges Michael Beale. Doesn't win that, he's on an even more sugary peg than he is just now.
Stephen, in terms of Livingston, it's another obviously disappointing defeat, but they have had the news during the week that they are going to be taken over, and David Martindale seems very happy about that. How big is that going to be for Livingston and David Martindale?
It's going to be huge, and it's going to be good, because hopefully now we'll stop hearing David Martindale mention finances every press conference. I mean, I heard them. I'm not even joking. He mentioned how VAR costs 6 figures, so everything relates back to money. No, it'll be massive for them, because it must be really difficult for them to compete. And they've done. I think he's done one of the best jobs in Scottish football over the last couple of years, David Martindale. The fact that Livingston are even still in the league, and it goes under the radar, the job that he has done. And I don't think it gets spoken about enough. And yet again, this season, you're probably looking at them as one of the favourites to go down, but they've started relatively okay. So with the takeover, it's only going to make things better for them, isn't it?
100%. Let's now go to Dingwall, and it was Ross County 1, Aberdeen 2. Graham Shinnie scored an absolutely wonderful goal after 8 minutes. Jack Baldwin sent off for Ross County after 40 minutes for taking down Duke. Aberdeen got a second in 80 minutes through Stocklair, but Kyle Turner scored a penalty in 83 minutes to make it a little bit more interesting. But in the end, Dave, Aberdeen came through, and how massive a win is that for Barry Robson?
Yeah, massive win. And what I found about this is that Aberdeen have played sides previously, Stirling Albion in particular, and a lot of the focus was on how they just managed to dwindle their way past Stirling Albion. There wasn't really that Wednesday as such. On Wednesday, it was more okay, we're through, great, let's get on to the semi-final. And it's funny how the mindset, and don't get me wrong, that mindset could totally change again. It's funny how the mindset has changed since that victory over Sunday, because that was a handsome victory against the Ross County side that were woeful, and quite simply, if I'm going to be brutally honest, abject. And then Wednesday, that set kind of set the stall. I thought it was going to be a lot more. Aberdeen should have scored a lot more, to be fair, on Wednesday. But it's job done into the next round, and hats off to Aberdeen for that. And an important victory for Barry Robson. And let's be honest, Hibs in the semi-finals is going to be a very tough game. And it's going to be interesting to see how we get on, because if Aberdeen go win that game, I think the whole pressure towards Barry Robson alleviates a little bit. If he loses that, there's a Jim Goodwin syndrome about it, because if he loses that, he's got to make sure he gets a reaction, because I thought this was going to be a bit of a Jim Goodwin syndrome with regards to how Aberdeen were just flattered to receive on the park, how they sat in. For me, Ibrox tomorrow, we'll obviously go into it later on the show, but I'll give you a heads up and I'll give you a presence already. Let's go. Don't park the bus at Ibrox, please. Let's go for it. Let's try and create a statement. Let's try and get a goal. We've got enough quality on the park. We've got enough forward areas. We've got enough talent. Miowski, decent start to the season. Duke, I think he'll kick on and he'll get more confident as a result of scoring last Sunday. Guy, there's a lot of Aberdeen fans unsure about him, but I think we have to take it in the recollection that his way in terms of playing the Scottish game is pretty new to him, so I'm prepared to give him a bit more time. And I'm not trying to be a happy clapper here. I'm just saying the boy Guy has been doing a lot of hard work off the park in terms of running through Aberdeen City Centre and all that. So I think that deserves to be applauded. And Sokor, who obviously scored on Wednesday evening, and hopefully that'll kickstart him massively. So, but we're scoring goals, and obviously Graham Shea, what the hell that was from him on Wednesday. So, Aberdeen fans have every reason to be excited just like last year, because when you see it in front of your eyes, Graham, just how it deteriorated Hearts in that certain segment of the season. And I got the feel that it was maybe going to happen to Aberdeen. True indication from an Aberdeen perspective, because of the Rangers tomorrow. I'll think on Thursday, St Johnstone predicament in a minute. So it's going to be a massive, I say, 8-day period to see how we move on and build on forward after this victory on Wednesday.
Stephen, obviously a bit like Stephen Naismith, who's been under massive pressure. Barry Robson's been under pressure as well. But like Stephen Naismith, Aberdeen are now 2 games away from winning a trophy. This could be massive for Barry Robson, and it could be a massive turning point. I mean, obviously that game on Wednesday was a big game, because I think Aberdeen had to win that game. They've done it now. But is it now important, a bit like Hearts on Wednesday, that Aberdeen now build on this?
I'm telling you, right, you're seeing Aberdeen without a week in Europe. You're seeing Aberdeen with a fresh week, and they get a 4-0 win on Sunday, and then they follow it up by going up to Dingwall and beating over to Dingwall and beating Ross County again. And I look at Rangers' injury list for tomorrow. Kemar Roof's now injured. They've got Raskin, Cantwell, Lawrence. I'm telling you, Aberdeen should be going here all guns blazing tomorrow. I think they've got nothing to lose. And it's going to be a really, really interesting one to see the result. Can I just let you know that McIntyre and Rose were 2 down with 2 holes to play, and they won the last 2 holes to get another half a point. So it's a full day for Europe in the Ryder Cup without losing.
Fantastic for Europe. Absolutely fantastic for Europe.
But no, Aberdeen confident tomorrow. Absolutely, they have to be.
I mean, just in terms of that, Dave, I mean, we spoke a few times, me and Stephen and me and Michael as well, about the fact that playing Thursday, Sunday is very difficult. Hearts found this out last season at their cost. Is that still a worry for Aberdeen fans, that the whole European thing might be a difficult thing to kind of balance?
Well, just to clarify Stephen's point, because he did make that point exactly. Aberdeen obviously had that game against Frankfurt last Thursday, and obviously played Ross County on Sunday, won 4-0. And I'll be honest, after the valiant effort that we had against Frankfurt on that Thursday, I was a little bit weary about Sunday. I was worried about Sunday, and I think that was the perception amongst a lot of Aberdeen fans, because Ross County prior to Sunday were playing some good football and they were getting some good results. But as I said, they offered next to nothing. And the pleasing thing for me about last Sunday as well, Graham, because I've not been in the show in a while, so I'll give you a whole detailed opinion on it, is the thing about Sunday is that Ross County didn't offer up a lot defensively. They weren't awful. Right? They weren't catastrophic or anything along those heavy lines as such. But they never cleared the lines defensively. Aberdeen were ruthless. Job done, 4-0, and it was on to Wednesday. It's the same about Wednesday. Obviously, I said to people it's going to be a bit of a grind, because obviously up to Dingwall, it's a totally different proposition for Aberdeen. But at exactly the same time, job done, into the semi-finals. Now, let's not forget here, guys, that's 2 games within the space of a week. Yes, we'll have much tougher tests to come this weekend coming, because obviously Rangers and Helsinki, but in exactly the same token, Aberdeen have got to fancy themselves against Helsinki. And as you say, Stephen, bet responsibly, by the way, but 10-1 for Aberdeen to win tomorrow. And by the way, if you're a good gambling man, it's not out with everybody's measure to be putting a bet on that. But as I said, bet responsibly. But yeah, absolutely, it's a winnable assignment for Barry Robson's side. I would even take a draw, but if Aberdeen want to go gung-ho and try and get that result, it absolutely would be a massive victory. And when people speak about this Michael Beale and important victories and how he's not picked up one yet in the Rangers manager, I'd argue it's an important game for Rangers tomorrow. And if the Rangers don't pick up that win, it'll be toxicity and animosity at Ibrox tomorrow.
Stephen, in terms of Ross County, will it be a bit of a concern for Malky Mackay that that's now 2 games against Aberdeen they've lost, and they're now playing Hearts tomorrow at home? A Hearts team that, as we know, apart from Tuesday, has been very poor away from home.
Well, if you were to say to him at the start of the season, would he be disappointed with 2 defeats against Aberdeen? I think no. I think the remit for Ross County is very much to make sure that they're safe first and then kick on from there. But given the fact that Aberdeen have had such a poor start to the season and are going into tomorrow against a Hearts side who, apart from the one during the week, have by all accounts have been conceding goals and have been struggling, then he's absolutely going to be concerned with the fact that his team have shipped 6 goals in 2 games and only managed to score 1, albeit with 10 men. But I think he'll be looking at this tomorrow and saying, start fast, come out the blocks flying, a bit like Kilmarnock should have done, and hopefully catch Hearts early. But I think he will only start to worry if there was tomorrow, because then the pressure's on a wee bit.
Absolutely. Well, let's go to the final game of the Viaplay Cup before we got onto the draw. It was Hibs 4, St Mirren 2. Scott Tanser put St Mirren ahead after 43 minutes. Hibs hit back with 2 goals very quickly through Ellie Ewan in 52 and Dylan Bent in 54. St Mirren did equalise through Kieran Backus after 76 minutes, but a double from Martin Boyle on 80 and 93 minutes gave Hibs the win. Dave, the Nick Montgomery effect. So far, Clwyd Kilmarnock got a draw. They probably should have won it. Beat St Johnstone comfortably last week, and now they beat St Mirren 4-2. It's started pretty well for Nick Montgomery so far.
I don't want to sound premature here, but I've got the feel this isn't going to be a Nick Montgomery honeymoon. What I mean by that is I don't think Hibs will have this inconsistency period that, let's be honest, absolutely suffocated Sean Maloney and Lee Johnson, because I think the way Nick Montgomery's came across the media, I think the way in which he comes across the touchline, I think the way in which he's conducted himself, the way in which he handles himself, the way in which players are working for him, I think there's a totally different feel, approach, and vibe about this Nick Montgomery Hibs team. And that was only resonated from also Australia, because he did tremendous work on, let's be honest, a shoeless budget in Australia. But he's came in, he's absolutely transformed that team. And I mean, as much as it was disappointing, drawing 2 each at Kilmarnock, the precedents were set. There were 2 up early doors. It was defensive disjointment that ultimately cost Hibs all 3 points that day. They absolutely ruled the roost over St Johnstone Saturday. They showed resilience against St Mirren on Wednesday, but got the job done. And then they played Dundee tomorrow that will look to create their own spark on the game, but there's enough quality in that Hibs team now to go and get that result required. Let's be honest, if Hibs can get the ground running now and get a good period between now, October, November, December into the January window, it gives Nick Montgomery that time to get, yes, more resources into the building at Easter Road, but also it gives him that opportunity to get much needed energy, quality, and more talent that can help them towards a top 6 or vice versa European finish. If you're asking me right now, Graham, who's going to win that Edinburgh Derby next weekend, and sorry to say this, I'd be backing Hibs right now.
Yeah, that worries me slightly, but I'm kind of not going to disagree with you. But Stephen, if you actually look at Hibs team, you know, Nick Montgomery's had 3 games so far. I do still think they still look a bit suspect defensively. St Johnstone last week got in a few times, just couldn't finish. But going forward, Hibs are looking very good. Martin Boyle scoring goals and looking really good. Dylan Benty's been really good so far. Ellie Ewan scoring goals. We've got Adam Lafondra. So going forward, Hibs look a real threat.
No, absolutely, they do. I think there was a stat that Dylan Benty had scored 5 goals in his last 5 shots on target or something crazy like that. And he seems to have got the best out of Martin Boyle. But I think you're absolutely correct in the assessment there that come January, the first thing on top of the Hibs shopping list will be another centre-back, because I just get the feeling that if you put balls into the box against this Hibs side, there's goals to be had left, right and centre. But the they have been, as you say, really fluid, really eye-catching going forward. And I'm pleased to see that Nick Montgomery has done something that I said. I don't know if you remember a couple of weeks ago that I said that Hibs side got to the quarter-final of the UEFA Youth League and lost to Borussia Dortmund. But Lee Johnson never gave any of the boys a chance, which I found absolutely mind-boggling. They were really unlucky in that game against Borussia Dortmund as well. But now Nick Montgomery's come in. You've seen young Rory Whittaker getting his first appearances in a Hibs jersey, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he gets an assist the other night. So it just shows you that if you're given a chance, then they will prosper. And it's good to see that Nick Montgomery has got the cojones, if you like, to place his faith in youth.
Dave, obviously when you come at a new job or a new place, it can be difficult to get implement your style early on. We know that it took Ange Postecoglou a little bit of time to get his system sorted, but already it does look like Nick Montgomery's got an identity at Hibs, and he looks like he knows how he wants to play. And at the moment, worryingly for me as a Hearts fan, it looks like the players that he's trusting at the moment are actually following his plans.
Absolutely, and I think just that little bit of a solid head in terms of how he handles things, how he gathers respect, how he handles the dressing room, but reciprocates that to the players. Obviously, controlling the dressing room is obviously been a very good thing as far as Montgomery has been concerned. I mean, he's obviously done things in his career playing with Central Coast Marinos at the time. And it was all about how Nick Montgomery allowed the players their space at the same time. When it was Nick's turn to speak, it was Nick's turn to speak. And that's where a leader essentially sets the stall and demands standards from his players. And that you get the feeling that that's transcribed onto the park. And obviously they've got some good results as a result of that. St Mirren was a tough test because obviously, as we know, they're signed in form. But for him to show the courage, the desire, the character to get that job done on Wednesday just tells me where they're going under the tutelage of Nick Montgomery, because let's be honest, they're a far superior place than they were under Johnson. Let's be honest, Johnson's went south of the border to Fleetwood, and let's be honest, he's went into a club in complete disarray. Well, let's be honest, he's in that job because quite simply, Fleetwood can't attract anybody else of a higher cost position than Lee Johnson. And let's be honest on that front. So Hibs have hit the jackpot with Nick Montgomery, and they've got somebody in that knows his way about the game, has the contacts across the world, Hearts can attract the Australian market to get players in that's ultimately going to help Hibs get that bit better and progress them as a team moving forward.
Stephen, for St Mirren, disappointing for Stephen Robinson, obviously out the cup, but they've had a great season so far, and I think the one thing that Stephen Robinson will want is that doesn't now derail their season, because they've had a great start to the season so far.
Well, that's why tomorrow's so big for them and it's so telling. Is it going to be the result that derails their season? I don't think so, but I know that Stephen Robinson wasn't happy with the manner of some of the goals that they conceded the other night. He said it was uncharacteristic of his side to concede goals the way they did. But you look at it, they still scored 2 goals. And I know I've just touched on Hibs' defence, so they were hoping that that's a freak performance away at Hibs. And listen, they're absolutely flying in the league and they'll be going to Kilmarnock. I still believe full of confidence tomorrow, but it's a result that they'll definitely see as a missed opportunity, that's for sure.
Before we look at the games tomorrow, let's touch on the Viaplay Cup semi-final draw, which paired Hearts against Rangers, short corner. That'll be played on Sunday the 5th of November. The game before that will be Aberdeen against Hibs on Saturday the 4th of November with a 5:15 kick-off. Hearts and the Rangers will play on the Sunday with a 3 o'clock kick-off. I'm going to come to you first, Dave. Aberdeen against Hibs. It's a great opportunity for both teams to get to the final. And what a boost it would be for Barry Robson and Aberdeen if it was them in that Viaplay Cup final in December.
Yeah, totally. I think it'll be a decent game. I think Hibs won't create that statement. But ultimately, Aberdeen and Barry Robson will be judged on if Aberdeen lose this game in November and subsequently lose the League Cup final or the Viaplay Cup final. Barry Robson and Aberdeen will be defined as that bridesmaid team again, the team that do so well that gets so far. And that's where Aberdeen have to go that extra step now. The same could be said for Hibs to a certain extent, because Hibs are a big enough club where Hibs not winning a trophy for 7 years could be deemed unacceptable in Eastern Road circles, a bit like Hearts as well, in their general context, because they've obviously been very unsuccessful in their cup final pursuits, apart from obviously that famous 5-1 game against Hibs just over a decade ago. But yeah, I think for sides that with Rangers and Celtic, it's the perfect opportunity, especially for this competition, with the latter being out. And Rangers are a team there to be got at. It's not mission impossible by any stretch of imagination. If I'm Barry Robson, if I'm Nick Montgomery, if I'm Stephen Naismith, if I'm going, let's try and be ruthless. Let's try and get that boxing feel about it, but in a good way. We try and punch one into Rangers, and let's try and get our hands on some silverware, and let's try and get some players to become legends in this respected football club, whether it be Hibs, Aberdeen, or subsequently Hearts.
Stephen, Dave touched on a good point there. I know it's difficult to win cups because you've got Celtic and Rangers there, but for clubs like Hearts, Hibs, Aberdeen, it shouldn't take so long to win trophies. They should win these kind of trophies. And this is a great chance for Hearts, Hibs and Aberdeen to actually go and win this cup now. Rangers are not great. We all know they're under pressure. But what an opportunity these teams have got to actually go and win silverware.
I think it will be one of those three that ends up ultimately winning the competition. I really don't fancy Rangers to win it at all. And you're absolutely right in what you say, that these sides shouldn't be going as long as they are without winning anything. I don't know if you can hear my dog in the background. Apologies if you can hear him barking.
That's all right.
You're right. But again, opportunity, and you need to keep getting yourself in these positions to give yourself the opportunity, and that's what I think that they've not done enough of. Teams like Hearts, Hibs, Aberdeen, semi-finalists every single year, unless they get one of the Old Firm in the third or the fourth round. But any team that they're drawn against, they should fancy their chances in beating. And I think it's going to be two really tasty affairs. I mean, I know Hearts have been denied a 50-50 split at Hampden, which I think is absolutely shocking, because they've proven at the Scottish Cup final that they can sell out a 50% share of tickets. And I think it would be no different, even though the game's 3 o'clock on a Sunday, because I think Hearts are going to smell blood here, and then it's a toss-up between Hibs and Aberdeen. I would probably just, if you're asking me just now, I would tip Hibs just to pip it, just because of the way they've been playing going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I just want Hearts to actually turn up at Hampden, because the last final to against Rangers we were really poor. I hope we turn up in this final. It's going to be difficult, but
semi.
You know what?
Not final yet.
Semi-final, sorry. I mean, it is a chance. It is a chance for Hearts to get through to a final. And you know what? The thing is as well, it's a bit like 2012, because in the semi-finals in the Scottish Cup, it was Hibs Aberdeen on the Saturday. We play Celtic on the Sunday. Hibs beat Aberdeen, so then we knew on the Sunday if we got through, it was a derby. It's the same thing again here. If Hibs beat Aberdeen, we know that 90 minutes later we could be in a final against Hibs again. I don't think my heart could handle that, because I was a nervous wreck for that game. But you know what? It's a chance. It's a big chance. But yeah, so that's the Viaplay Cup semi-finals. We are going to look at the games tomorrow. We've got an hour and 5 minutes left. But I just want to touch on a couple of other things as well while Dave's on, because I know that he watches women's football as well. Dave, me and Stephen touched on this earlier on. We touched on the fact that Scotland women played on Tuesday, and we also said about the fact that Caroline Weir suffered a cruciate ligament damage, which is a massive shame. But we had, I think it was last week, we had Maureen McGonigal on the show before the England game, and Scotland were in a great place just now. I mean, Scotland should have got something against England. We did get the draw last week. Are you impressed with what Scotland women are doing so far? Because they do look very impressive so far.
Yeah, but I still think there's room for improvement, and that would be the way I look at it. I mean, against England. I think in terms of performance, you couldn't ask for any more. Stonewall penalty turned down, decent on the ball, had chances, just weren't clinical and converted their chances in front of goal. Should have had penalties, I referred to. Just a little bit vulnerable defensively, just a few deficiencies defensively. Exactly the same on Tuesday. The defensive aspect is something that Pedro, I think, has to go and work on. But at the same token, we're playing areas, we're scoring goals, creating chances, and that's ultimately what you want from a side. And that's ultimately what you want as a punter for somebody who's paying money, going to watch their country. And ultimately, that's what the grassroots level go out watching their teams, and obviously they're getting to see their heroes essentially. You see all the banners of Erin Cuthbert, can I get your autograph and all that kind of stuff, and that just goes to show you the fluidity and respect that we've all got for the women's national players. So hats off to them for that, and here's hoping we can keep that going. But ultimately, a point I want to touch on, and it's not a rant, but it's something I need to get out here. ACL injuries. It tells us that we're not doing enough from a medical perspective in the women's game, because that's Caroline Weir out. Erin Cuthbert's got an ACL, but she's obviously injured. Emma Watson was confirmed by Manchester United as well as having an ACL injury, and there's been many more instances within the women's game. So very much so, we've got to improve from a sports science medical perspective. But apart from that, on the park in terms of the product, happy with that. But maybe a tinge of improvement needed against Netherlands. Also comes in here and says, I'll just try and get it up for you. Well, this isn't coming up, but it says, Aberdeen were awful against Hibs a couple of weeks ago, but have improved since the Frankfurt game. So I think we've got a chance of reaching the final. New defenders seem to have clicked the past couple of games. And I think Paul's right. Just really continue, Graham. I think we've got that gel now. I think we've got that team cohesion about us now. I could be wrong based on if things change tomorrow, people's perception of Aberdeen might change, but I think we've got a good gel about Aberdeen just now. And here's hoping we can keep that going, especially over the next month where it is a vital period for the club.
Yeah, just going back to the women's game for a minute, Dave, how important do you think it is, and for stability reasons as well, that Pedro Martinez Losa has extended his contract?
I'm a bit not unsure about this one, if I'm going to be very honest with you, because ultimately Scotland managers have to be judged on doing well in terms of qualification into a major tournament. Pedro Martinez Losa's done nowhere near that. Well, he also got to the playoff finals last year, but let's be honest, we blew it against England. Blew it. Absolutely blew it. And I was saying this to somebody. I think we offered Pedro a new deal on the day of the game for a marketing point of view, rather than he's earned it. Now, I think he's got to try and get within touch and distance of qualification for Euros in 2025. If not, I think the pressure's got to be on the SFA to try and obviously make a change, or obviously look to implement something different within the coaching structure for the women's game, because let's be honest, it took us a while to get Pedro Martinez Losa in the door. And let's be honest, managers such as Demi McCulloch and other female contingents within the game of linking with the post. And it took the SFA a good 6 or 7 months after Shelley Card left to get somebody in. So we better not fall down that death trap again. And obviously, the SFA have obviously, from the outside looking at it, looked as all they were in a bit of disarray, especially after the tribunal process that players had against the SFA, which thankfully has been rectified thanks to great work and courteous work by Rachel Corsie. But yeah, it shows that we're going in the right direction now, and Pedro needs to rubber stamp that now with results.
Talking about managers, what a segue this is, by the way. But talking about managers, Stephen, I'm going to come to a manager appointment that was made during the week. I'll come to Dave shortly on this. But on Tuesday, Inverness, following the sacking of Billy Dodds, appointed former Rangers, Everton, Dundee United and Scotland striker Duncan Ferguson on a 3-year contract. He left Forest Green after one win in 18. I've seen a lot of folks say a great appointment for Inverness. I personally don't agree with that. I don't see what he's done to deserve this job, but he's got it. Stephen, what's your thoughts on Duncan Ferguson, new manager of Inverness Cali Thistle?
I'm going to go off on a wee bit of a tangent before I give my opinion. Duncan Ferguson is responsible for the weirdest bit of football memorabilia that I have ever received in my time following football. As people may know, when I was younger, our family were good friends with James McFadden. Went down to watch him at Everton. And Duncan Ferguson comes into the players' lounge and gives me a sweatband that he'd been wearing the whole game, covered in sweat. I mean, grateful for it is an understatement, but no, still a nice gesture, never the same. In terms of the managerial appointment of him at Inverness, I think it's one that he needs for Inverness because I don't think he's yet to prove himself as a manager, and he's going into a side who have been really struggling this season that look void of identity, and he's been tasked with the job to get them out of the mire that they're in and stabilise what's going on at the club. But he didn't have the best of times at Forest Green, but I think that he maybe needs we definitely need a good performance here as a manager of Inverness to get his career back on track in Scotland. Who knows? Might be the place to do that for him.
Dave, Inverness have not won a game since the 15th of July when they beat Bonnyrigg Rolls in the League Cup. They now tomorrow play against third place Arbroath, who've had a great season so far. Inverness is sitting on 1 point so far. What's your thoughts on the Duncan Ferguson appointment? Do you think it's a good appointment, and what do you see happening with Duncan Ferguson at Inverness? Do you think this could be do you think they can claim the league after this appointment?
I think proof's in the pudding regarding whether it's a good appointment for Cali Thistle, but when you look at Cali, I think there was much safer options out there. I think Scott Brown was a safer option. I think Darren D, considering the work he's done at Celtic, was a safer option. I think spending money to get Doug Emery in for Morton was a safer option. So fair play to Cali for going slightly left field in this regard, because let's be honest, it is left field because Duncan Ferguson, as much as he's familiar with Scottish football, at exactly the same time, he's not really used to the Championship. He's also took in Gary Bolden as his assistant, who knows the Scottish game, having been at County Beef as a manager, having been around the Scottish football setup. But yeah, I'm getting the feel that the proof's still in the pudding. And the 3-year deal is extremely ambitious from Cali Thistle. As Dick Campbell said, but Dick Campbell actually lied to the journalists, by the way, because Dick Campbell went and said that 3-year contracts are basically not a thing in football. Well, Dick Campbell got a 3.5-year deal with Partick Thistle one time, and that went into complete tatters because of his time at Firhill, that's for sure. So Dick Campbell was lying to the Courier reporter on that front, although he probably wouldn't admit it himself. But 3 years, massively ambitious for a club at Cali. Billy Dodd's got a 2-year deal as well. That was after the Scottish Cup final, if I'm not mistaken. And look at that, that's turned out an absolute disaster from a financial perspective for Cali Thistle. So Cali have to be a little bit more diligent and a little bit more straightforward with how they conduct their matters off the park in due course, I feel. And, I mean, let's be honest, they've got a lot of familiarity in the squad. There's not been a lot of freshness about the Cali team. The loan window shuts tomorrow night now. Dane Murray, Benji Seagrass and James McCarthy have all been linked with the club. I don't think any of those will happen. He's obviously been on the phone to Brendan Rodgers, but I can't see Brendan Rodgers wanting to agree unless there's some sort of financial agreement between both clubs. So let's be honest, Cali are a very skint club at this precise moment in time. So interesting times for Duncan, and what a start to life in Scottish football tomorrow for Duncan Ferguson in terms of management, because he's off to Arbroath. Well, first and foremost, that gives box office, but secondly, Gayfield arguably is one of the toughest places to go in Scottish football and Scottish Championship, not because of the wind, but because of the way Dick plays his football.
Yeah, games tomorrow are Arbroath against Inverness, Ayr against Wraith Rovers, Dundee United against Queen's Park, Morton against Airdrie, and Partick Thistle against our Fremont. So some big games tomorrow. But there is a full fixture list tomorrow. There's no Sunday games. It's a full fixture list in the FPL tomorrow in the Premiership, and it starts off at 12:30 with Stephen's beloved Motherwell taking on Celtic at 12:30. Celtic, who before we came on air, announced the new 5-year contract of Rio Hatate. Massive, massive game for Motherwell Celtic tomorrow. But Stephen, last week on the show, you were very confident that Motherwell will go Ibrox and get something. You were very, very close to being justified in that. You must be very confident going into this game tomorrow, because last week, I was doing the show last week and I was getting the updates on the game. Last week, you did not deserve to come away from Ibrox with nothing.
Honestly, I'm on how we don't come away for there with something. It's been going over and over in my head all week. I mean, we had the one cleared off the line, and I turned into the guy behind me and I goes, I wish that never happened, because I'm going to be thinking about that all night now. all night's turned into all week. But listen, I put a tweet out asking for the performance. I got one from my team. I got one from every single player on that pitch. I have to say that I think Bevis Mugabe and Blair Spittle have been the two most improved players in a Motherwell jersey this season under Stuart Kettlewell. I think that the system that we're playing with the three centre-halves really suits Bevis Mugabe. It gives him that wee bit more stability at the back, allows him to get his foot on the ball and display his attributes. And then he's got more stability around about him for defending, crosses coming into the box as well. So he's been brilliant, and Blair Spittle has been a real creative force for us all season. In terms of the game tomorrow, I believe it's a real step or two up in quality. I think you look at how Celtic went about their business against Livingston last week, which is notoriously a tough place for them to go. To get down to 10 men so early on, okay, they want to go up, but then to go come out second half and score another 2 goals, it just shows you the strength that they've got on their side. So, listen, it's going to be tough, but I'll echo the same statement as last week. I just want a performance, because if we keep creating the chances that we have been, they'll start going in eventually.
You spoke about, and I think we spoke about this before on the show last week as well, Lennon Miller. How did he play at Ibrox?
It wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't one of his standout performances, if you like. He still had a good game. He was still around about a 6 out of 10, but we're just missing that real spark from him. It took off after, I think it was 65 minutes, and I think that was really wise, that decision for Sir Kettlewell to take him off, because we need to remember that this boy is only 17 years of age, so managing his game time is really, really important. But no, listen, he's been fantastic for this all season. A good performance, not a great performance at Ibrox, but hopefully, if he is starting tomorrow, we'll see glimpses of what we know Lennon Miller is all about. But no, he's got a tough task tomorrow, because I think he's coming up against the best midfield in the league.
Yeah, and one of those midfielders I just mentioned a minute ago, Rio Hatate, signed a new 5-year contract. Obviously, we're not Celtic fans, but we've watched Hatate over the years. He's been outstanding. How big is that for Celtic?
It's huge. It's huge. He's a massive player for them. I think the performance goes up 5 or 10% anytime Rio Hatate is in the side. And for me, I'd be really worried if it was a player like David Turnbull in that, because I'm seeing like the likes of Hatate signing new deals. I think Turnbull, he might be off come January or come the summer. So, but we said that last season. But no, massive for Celtic, because there was rumours that Hatate leaving. People were saying that he wasn't maybe too happy under Rodgers. Well, they've just come out and answered that today with the fact that he signed a 5-year deal. And right before the game against Motherwell, thanks for that, Celtic. I'm really grateful that he's have done that. But no, listen, it's a game I'm looking forward to, Graham. If we don't win, so what? It's not how we're defined. But if we can put in another good performance, it allows us to maintain the confidence that we have in this side going into the game next week.
We all know that Celtic have got a lot of quality. We know they've got a lot of strengths. Do you think it's important that, and it's hard, I know it's hard because you've got to try and keep everyone quiet, but do you think it's important that you keep Kyogo quiet tomorrow?
it's imperative that you keep Kyogo quiet, but I think that our system will hopefully allow us to do that. I mean, we play kind of a five at the back with three centre halves, and the wing backs obviously bomb forward when we do have the ball. But I don't want us to press Celtic high tomorrow. I want us to kind of adapt how we would play off the ball, because I think if we press Celtic high, Kyogo's just going to love the space in behind running and absolutely kill us. So it'll be interesting to see how we deploy the game off the ball. On the ball, I don't think we need to change. I think we've shown this season that we're a really good side on the ball. We've got a great balance in midfield between Slattery, Spittle and Lennon Miller. But somebody that's not been mentioned is Harry Payton. He's a workhorse. He's been fantastic for us, and he was great again at the weekend against Rangers. So I think all the midfielders tomorrow, Harry Payton's performance is the most important, because he's the one that's going to get us on the ball and give it to the more creative players like Slattery, Spittle and Miller.
Evening, Aslino, who's joined us, is just in from work. Good to see you, pal. Hope you're doing well. Disappointing for you on Wednesday, but a big game for you tomorrow. Hopefully you do well tomorrow, but not too well. And like I said last week, you were far better against Hearts. You deserve to win. But just, I mean, looking at Motherwell, and I know I spoke about this guy before, and he played last week as well. I've always had my concern, because I think he's a good player, but for me, it's the same about with Vassell as well. I just don't think Theo Bair scores enough goals, and that's my worry about him. I think he's got a lot of good attributes, but he's just not clinical enough for me.
I genuinely don't think he's a striker. I think there must be another position that you can find for Theo Bair, because he does work hard. And I'm not faulting the guy's work rate. He just doesn't get himself in the positions to allow himself to score goals. He's not got that predatory instinct that you need for me as a striker. And I'm glad that Connor Wilkinson's got a full week of training back in him. Hopefully, I don't know whether he'll be fit enough to start tomorrow, but certainly play more of a part in the game. I would maybe even start Ollie Shaw up front. I thought, although he's missed a couple of chances, he looks really dangerous with his pace in behind. I think he's more than earned a start for the off tomorrow. But no, I would completely agree with you on your assessment of Theo Bair. And I don't take any pleasure in saying it, because I want to see any player in a Motherwell side do well. He scored on the first day of the season, but he's not really done much since, has he?
It must have been a strange sight for you, and it probably is for a lot of away fans when they go to Ibrox, and I don't know because I'm not used to this, but it must have been a strange sight for you and all the Motherwell fans last week, after Rangers won, to hear Rangers getting booed off the park, having won the game.
There was two things that told me everything I need to know that my assessment of the game was correct. One was the Rangers fans booing their team off the pitch, which, by the way, they thoroughly deserved, because I've never been at Ibrox and sat so comfortably, even though my team were 1-0 down. I was just waiting for the goal to come. I thought it was only a matter of time, particularly in the last 10 minutes. I just thought it was inevitable that we were going to score. And I said on Go Radio last night, I said that we were a Mika Bereth away from winning that game 3 or 4-1. And one thing that told me that was right was the Rangers fans booing their team off the pitch. But another thing, John Lundstrom walks out with man of the match, a holding midfielder. And then Ravi Matondo gets injured and they change their system. So normally when a team changes their system, it means that you've got them on the ropes a wee bit. And by the way, the changing system didn't work. We were still the better team after that.
Yeah, as Luna's made a couple of points here, Motherwell definitely a strong side. Laughed at Rangers fans in phone-in, whining because they beat a strong side, and he comes back in again. Guys calling for Beale's head because they beat a strong Motherwell. Absolutely hilarious. And that's the thing, because I listened to a couple of these shows as well, they'll have other folk do as well, and I found it quite laughable because Motherwell are a good side, they're a strong side. But obviously, I couldn't watch the game last week, having done the show, but I was kind of watching the game back, and I listened to a lot of radio podcasts and stuff. Rangers at home to Motherwell, who are a good side, don't get me wrong, but Rangers at home to Motherwell, and they were wasting time, which is just mental.
It's nuts, and it shows you what Rangers are as a team. I mean, Michael Beale comes out in his press conference on Sunday and says they got away with one today. That was his exact words. And then on Wednesday night, he comes out with a statement that I don't know where people are getting it from, that Motherwell were the better team. Make your mind up, mate. It was you've just said 3 days ago that you got away with one. And yet now you're coming out and saying, I wonder where people got it from. They got it from watching the game with the same set of two eyes that you've got. We that's the best I've ever seen a Motherwell side play at Ibrox, and yet we walk away with nothing. And I even include the playoff game that we won 3-1 in that. That's the best I've seen a Motherwell side play at Ibrox. Before Rangers score, for 20 minutes we battered them. Nobody's talking about that, the fact that in the first 20 minutes we were all over them. And then they scored with a deflection against the run of play. And apart from that, Wayne Kelly's had one save to make in the second half. One. Honestly, I'm still mystified as to how we walk out that game with 0 points. But it was the same against St Mirren.
Do you think you can rectify that performance again tomorrow? It's going to be much more difficult against a very, very good Celtic side. But, I mean, what's your expectation going into this game tomorrow?
I said it. I just want a performance. I don't expect us to go and win this, to even draw this tomorrow. Everything to me, and Motherwell fans will like hearing me saying this, because why are you saying that when the team have put in performance after performance this season? But everything to me points towards a Celtic win tomorrow. I just think they've got a stronger side. I think that they're a side that are gaining some real momentum at the minute, and that's been sparked by the one that they got at Ibrox. They've not really looked back since. So it's going to be tough. I do think that we'll get a performance, but I still think Celtic will run out winners and win the game 2-1 tomorrow.
Well, if Celtic do win, they'll be 5 points clear. I never thought I'd say this. They'll be 5 points clear of St Mirren, who're in second place, which is just a bizarre thing to say. I know Ashley may be loving this, but I mean, I think it will be a difficult game tomorrow, because I do think at Far Park, Motherwell can cause Celtic problems. You know, last week, Celtic, okay, they won comfortably, but when Celtic going out of 10 men with Hart getting sent off, Livingston still had a few chances you can take and couldn't take them. I think tomorrow it's imperative that, and this is the one thing that Motherwell haven't been good at recently, is the fact that when they do have chances, they've not taken them. If they get chances tomorrow, they've got to take them. They've got to be clinical.
Absolutely, we need to. But Connor Wilkinson's back fit. Stuart Kettlewell said in his press conference this week that Mika Bereth and John Obika are about 2 to 3 weeks away. So hopefully after the international break, we start to see them coming back, and then we're back to full strength. And I'm serious, I swear. I think the sky's the limit for this Motherwell side when we get Mika Bereth back in the team. Honestly, I think that we can really push for third place this season, because we've got balance everywhere else in the pitch. The only missing cog from the engine has been a goal scorer. And for the half an hour that I've seen of Mika Bereth against Hibs, I'm really, really excited for him coming back. And what I will say is, Celtic, if they don't keep 11 men on the pitch tomorrow, they won't get the same result that they got against Livingston, because we're a side that can really keep the ball, and we're a side that will be able to exploit an extra man.
Yep, I can't really disagree with that. Let's go on to the game at Ibrox tomorrow. We kind of touched on it earlier on. But Rangers against Aberdeen. Rangers, we know they beat Livingston comfortably on Wednesday night, but this is a huge, huge game for Michael Beale. They cannot afford to fall any further behind Celtic. If they lose tomorrow, it's a massive, massive disappointment. What do you expect for this game tomorrow?
Sorry, was that the Rangers game there? I was reading comments. Yeah, Rangers game. Yeah, I think that it's going to be really tough for Rangers. Honestly, I really do. Because I look at their injury list, and I mentioned that Raskin, Cantwell, Lawrence, Batondo, Roof, it's all players that are well, with the exception of Raskin, it's all players that can win a game for them, get a goal or create something. So I would be really concerned for Rangers as to where that creative influence is going to come from tomorrow. 4-0 flattered them a wee bit against Livingston, I still think. I don't think it was a vintage Rangers performance. And now, this is a different Aberdeen side than what they would have faced a week ago. This is an Aberdeen side that have just won 2 games on the bounce and scored 6 goals in the process. So they'll be going there with a lot of confidence tomorrow. And I'll say the first 20 minutes of the game, I feel like I say this every week about some game, but the first 20 minutes of that game will tell you a lot about how it's going to go.
Just, well, I'll come back to this game in a minute, but just touching on the point that Ashley made here about Motherwell. He says you can't rely on Obika too much. He's somewhat injury prone. Would you agree with that?
That's why I mentioned Mika Bereth and I didn't mention John Obika, because he has got a history of injuries and he's not a striker that will get you 15, 20 goals a season. He maybe pop up between somewhere in the realm of 7 and 10. So what John Obika does do is he works really well off the ball, I think. And he's good at linking up with a strike partner and the players round about him. So he's still got assets that I believe that we could use in the team. And I still believe he's a better option. You don't need to apologise, Ashby. No, it's okay. I still believe he's a better option than Theo Bear. So we need both of them back. As much as Obika isn't a goal threat, I still think that he gives you something.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at tomorrow's game, Rangers Aberdeen, how do you think Barry Robson approaches tomorrow? Because again, Aberdeen, after the last 2 games, beating Ross County 2 games in a row, they are still sitting 11th in the league on 5 points. What do you think Barry Robson is looking for tomorrow? Obviously a victory, but if they can't win, what else do you think he'll be looking for tomorrow? A performance?
I think you catch Rangers on the counter-attack tomorrow, and I think the way you do it is sitting deep, and then when you get your foot on the ball, get it up to Miovski and allow him to bring players like Clarkson and Duke into the game and really allow Duke to exploit the space that will be left in behind by Rangers coming forward. Duke's got a goal last week. I mentioned that I thought he was poor against Frankfurt. He's now got a goal, and I believe that players like Duke are confidence players. So it'll be interesting to see the performance that he has tomorrow. One player that's massive because he's going to be that shielded, if you like, in front of the defence is Graham Shinney. I think he's huge. I think he put in a great performance against Frankfurt for them, and he scored a great goal during the week. So if he has a good game, it gives Aberdeen the chance of going and getting something for this game.
Yeah, Paul Donaldson says, I think Barry Robson will go with a 3-5-2. He doesn't seem to want to play another formation. I mean, obviously, how important do you think it is and obviously Barry Robson's still a very young manager, inexperienced, a bit like Stephen Naismith. How important do you think it is that he has different formations that he can use rather than getting stuck on just one main formation?
One thing I will say about Barry Robson, as much as Aberdeen have struggled for results this season, I believe that they've put in good performances in the majority of big games they've played. The 2 games against Hacken, away to Frankfurt, and then 2 massive games this week against Ross County. He's managed to get a performance in all of them. So I don't see why it should be any different tomorrow. I think that he'll be really confident that he said he can go and get something, and I think Aberdeen fans should enjoy this because Ibrox isn't the usual Ibrox that you go to at the minute.
Like Motherwell last week, do you think it's important that Aberdeen can keep it tight quite early on, and then after about 25 minutes or so, that Rangers crowd, because they definitely turned last week.
Oh, listen, it's so easy to turn that place toxic at the minute because everybody's on edge. Everybody that's a Rangers fan, that you see how angry they are, but the fact that they've not seen a performance all season. So it's vital that Aberdeen keep it tight early on and allow themselves to build themselves into the game. And I believe that going to places like Frankfurt in recent weeks and going to Hacken will really stand them in good stead for the game tomorrow.
They play Helsinki next Thursday. I mean, if you're an Aberdeen fan, I know you're watching this, Paul. I mean, if you're an Aberdeen fan right now, what would you rather? Would you rather get 3 points tomorrow or beat Helsinki?
I think you'd rather win tomorrow because they need a result in the league at some point. I think it's a wee bit... I know they put in a good performance against Frankfurt, but I still think it's a wee bit too ambitious to suggest that Aberdeen can get out of the group. Helsinki aren't the heavyweights that maybe a Frankfurt or a Palka. So I still think they can afford to go to Ibrox tomorrow have a real go. And I would rather, I don't know what Paul thinks, but I would rather, if I was an Aberdeen fan, a win away at Ibrox tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it is still very early in the season. There's a lot of things can happen between the end of the season. Do you still think that Aberdeen could have a decent season? I mean, right now, they are only 2 points off the top six, but it is early in the season. Do you think they could still have a decent season this season?
Yep, I really do, because I think this week has been proof of that. That impossible to answer. You'd rather win them both.
That's why I asked it.
But I think this week's been proof of that, Graham. It's something I touched on earlier on, that they've had the week without Europe this week, and they're unbeaten. They've won their 2 games. They've scored 6 goals in the process. I really do think that's why I wouldn't be quite pressing the panic button on Barry Robson just yet. He came in at the end of last season, turned it round for them. Somehow they managed to finish third because Hearts collapsed. But all credit to Barry Robson for the job that he did do, and I think that has earned them the time to get this right after Aberdeen are finished with European competition.
Paul, I'm going to ask you and any of the Aberdeen fans that are watching this, are you still behind Barry Robson, or are you still not quite at that stage yet? Because I'm interested to get Aberdeen fans' reactions to that. But I never got your predictions actually before. What's your prediction for Motherwell against Celtic?
Celtic 2, Motherwell 1.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for as well. What's your prediction for Rangers against Aberdeen?
Rangers 1, Aberdeen 2.
Interesting.
I really don't fancy Rangers tomorrow at all. What do you think?
I think it's a bit like last week. I think Rangers at home, yes, it could be difficult, but I think Aberdeen could potentially get a result tomorrow. Whether they'll win, I don't know, but I think it might be a draw. I think it could be 1-1, because I think Aberdeen will score. Because I think they've got guys like Bojan Majowski and Duke that are capable of scoring goals, so I think they'll score. But my worry would be, can they keep it at the other end? Because I do still think Aberdeen defensively are not. I think they're still a bit vulnerable. As we know, so generally, I think Aberdeen are good enough to challenge St Mirren this season. I think they could be. There's a long way to go, but Motherwell up there as well. There's a lot of teams now that are they're very similar. You know, I don't think there's a lot between most of the teams in this league, apart from the Celtic, who will probably roll away. But I don't think there's much between everyone else.
I think you've got Dundee, St Johnstone, Kilmarnock and County, and then the rest are kind of take points off each other. But even the likes of County and Kilmarnock can get results, but they're the teams that I expect to be down there. St Johnstone, Dundee, Kilmarnock and County, I think will make up the bottom 4, because I expect Hearts and I expect Aberdeen to pick up.
As Lino says, my tongue's firmly in my cheek. Paul Donaldson says, I think Barry Robson has brought himself some time with that 2 wins over Ross County. If we have lost either of those matches, fans will be calling for a change. And that's the thing. I mean, fans are fickle, right? I do this myself as well. You win a game, and then the next week you lose a game, and you think, oh, he's got to go. But I think you just need to get that run of games. The difference that I see from Barry Robson to Stephen Naismith is I can kind of see what Barry Robson's trying to do with Aberdeen. I don't really see yet what Stephen Naismith's trying to do, and that's where I kind of see the difference between the two. Yeah. I just think Aberdeen look a little bit better. And we're going to go on to Ross County against Hearts now. That was a great segue. It's like this thing's planned or something, but it's genuinely not. But yeah, Ross County, Hearts tomorrow in Dingwall. Ross County is sitting currently in 7th. They are level on points with Hearts, but Hearts are a better goal difference, surprisingly. But this is a big, big game for both teams tomorrow. Ross County at the back, 2 straight defeats from Aberdeen. Kilmarnock is the Hearts team that were good against St Mirren. They beat Kilmarnock. I genuinely don't know what to expect from Hearts tomorrow. I don't know what to expect.
No, but before I move on to that, can I just address something to Paul quickly? Paul, yeah, you're saying that fans would have been calling for a change of manager, and well, I get that. Let me tell you, for Alan Burrows being at Motherwell, he's not the type to press the panic button early on. I mean, Stephen Robinson was in a terrible, terrible run of form, as was Graham Alexander, and it almost took an uproar for the Motherwell fans to hound Graham Alexander at the club after Sligo. And and Robinson, he actually was trying to persuade Stephen Robinson to stay, despite the torrid run of form we were on at the time, but Robinson decided to resign. So Barry Robson, I think he definitely will get the time until after Aberdeen are out of European competition in the January window to turn it. But if we move on now to Hearts v Ross County, even though Hearts have got a win, they could easily turn up tomorrow and have a stinker. Like, they've not proven anything yet. It's one result, and this is where they need to prove it tomorrow, going to Dingwall, because I think that'll be quite a statement victory for them, because it's not an easy place to go. It's a tight pitch all the way up there. I still think Ross County have got a semi-decent side. You heard you heard Dave saying that Ross County weren't catastrophic last week. So it's not going to be an easy game for Hearts. And I think that's one that you're not going. I'm going to be Switzerland. I'm going to do a Graham here, sit on the fence and say that's one that I'm finding it very difficult to split both sides.
I mean, as a neutral, I spoke about it earlier on when they did the Kilmarnock Hearts Viaplay Cup thing. What did you make of that banner that Hearts fans had? The one that basically said, funded by fans, run by clowns. What did you make of that as a neutral?
I can completely understand it, because one thing that has been lacking from anyone at Hearts this season is any sort of leadership. Nobody knew what the managerial situation was at the start of the season. The performances on the pitch have been not what I associate a Hearts side with, particularly at home. Tynecastle was a fortress to me. It's should be one of the toughest stadiums to go to in Scotland, and I think sides have went in and found it very easy this season, if I'm being honest. And I can completely understand why the Hearts fans are angry, because they spend their money and they're not seeing a team on the pitch that reflects what they expect to see.
Yeah, I kind of did this last week as well. I'm going to do it now as well, because nobody was on with me last week and I've got somebody else I can talk to. But yeah, I kind of said this last week that for me, I still believe that the appointment of Stephen Naismith was the wrong choice. I think there was other managers that we could have got. I think I put a tweet out in June when he got the job where I basically said that it was a cheap option and it was underwhelming. Now, I still believe that's the case. Obviously, the results make a difference. If we're winning games, nobody's going to complain. But we did have the whole thing on Sky where we had Stephen Naismith and Frankie McAvoy, and it was a bit of a kind of, a bit of a shambles, to be honest. Now, for me, we're a bit Jekyll and Hyde. We beat Kilmarnock, but we got beat by St Mirren a few days before that. We could easily lose tomorrow. I still think, for me, Stephen Naismith has a long way to go before I'm going to say is the right choice. But results matter. And the worry for me, as I mentioned earlier on, and you spoke about it as well, for me, after tomorrow, the run of fixtures we've got are horrendous. He for me needs to show that he's got what it takes. And he spoke about it on Tuesday night as well after the game. He said that players have to come to Hearts and understand the expectation, and they do. It's the same with Aberdeen. Probably same for other teams as well. You've got to come to a team like Hearts and you've got to be under the interpretation you've got to be winning games every week. We're not doing that. Can these players stand up and show what they're made of? So for me, I am still of the opinion at the moment that Stephen Naismith is still not the right choice for me. But if he wins games, and I said this as well at the time, I will back any manager that gets that Hearts job. But what I want to see is a team that win games. And again, from what I've been told as well, at the time, when Naismith was appointed, Joe Savage and Andrew McKinley did not want Stephen Naismith. They wanted to experienced manager in, but they were overruled by Anne Budge. Now, she's done a great job at Hearts, don't get me wrong. She's basically put money at the club. She's helped us stay alive. But for me, she said that herself when she came in. I don't know much about football. Well, it kind of shows. Because these decisions are failing. And that's where I think that banner was the right thing to do, but maybe not quite the right thing to do it.
If she's coming out herself and saying that she doesn't know much about football, why is she overruling people when it comes to deciding who the manager is? That's That's crazy because even for me, from a neutral's perspective, Stephen A. Smith got a couple of results when he came in as interim manager, but I don't really remember him setting the world alight when he came in the same way that Barry Robson did when he went on this crazy run that got Aberdeen to third place. And that's the comparison that will always be made because they're two managers that are in similar stages of their career, getting similar quality of jobs in terms of stature. But for me, there's two managers that even in Scotland that would have jumped out before I would have appointed Stephen Naismith. I would have tried to either get Stephen Robinson from St Mirren, would have been my first person that I would have went after, or I would have went and got David Martindale at Livingston.
What about Stuart Kettlewell?
You can stay as far away from him. He's getting locked in the cupboard and kept away, by the way. He's not allowed it. No, listen, I've touched on this. I have no illusion that Stuart Kettlewell will one day leave Motherwell, and I would much rather he left under the circumstances of him going to another club rather than being sacked, because if he's going to another club, it means that we're doing well. And I know where Motherwell are in the football food chain. So, listen, if he has to go to Hearts or whatever, then I won't quite say all the best to him because it's a team in the same league as us, but you can understand it.
As Luna's brought back painful memories here, because he says the last time I recall Hearts, when exciting a manager appointment was George Burley. Yeah, that was one of these ones that I thought at the time could have worked had he not been sacked and Romanov got involved. He was I genuinely, and I've said this before as well, and I'm going to say it again. Had he stayed, I think Hearts could have won the league that season because we had a great side. We had a great side that season. We were up there challenging, and unfortunately, it just didn't work out. We signed a guy called Ibrahim Tal, who was a defender. Now, the story goes that he was basically brought in by Romanov. Burley and his backroom staff didn't want him, didn't think he was good enough. And then a few days later, Tal was in his squad and he signed a 3-year contract. And then Burley thought, nah, it's not going to work. I was genuinely, I don't think I've been as gutted at a manager leaving as I was with George Burley, because he was brilliant. And we've not been the same since that, to be honest. A lot of managers we've had, I've said before, I think Nielsen did a great job. We had Ian Cathro, we've had Craig Levine, we've had Daniel Stendhal, we've now got Stephen Naismith in. These appointments for me are very, very poor. And we need to get these appointments right. You know, Motherwell have got a great appointment in Stuart Kettlewell. St Mirren have got Robinson. Hibs now, unfortunately for me, I've got Nick Montgomery. So it is a concern for me that we keep going down this kind of inexperienced route. We need to be better than that.
No, absolutely. And correct me if I'm wrong, but was George Burley not sacked on the day of a game, or was it not announced on the day of a game? Because I'm sure I remember being in like a KFC drive-through. I was on the bus. I was on the bus into town. We were playing Dunfermline that day. I was on the bus into town and I listened to a radio show, and they said that Burley had gone, and I thought, are they winding me up? And then I got into town and I saw it on Sky Sports, and I thought, oh no, I couldn't believe it. Honestly, I was gutted, absolutely gutted. We no 12 out of 12 at that point or something. We won 12 games out of 12, flying. And it came completely out of the blue. And I think that not that I ever egg another team on to win the league, right? But I think every neutral would just have loved for the Hearts side to just win the league that season, just because I think everybody's sick of seeing Celtic and Rangers win. And I don't think it will ever happen again. I don't think anybody will ever get anywhere near it.
No, definitely not. In terms of Ross County, I mean, it's hard to know what to expect from them tomorrow because they've obviously lost the last two games, but they are at home against a Hearts side that, apart from Tuesday, has been disappointing on the road. Is this a game that Mark McCash will be looking forward to?
I'd be relishing it at home against the side who are struggling for wins in the league, who have a mountain of pressure on top of them. When was the last time he's beat St Johnstone at the start of the season, didn't he? He's away from home.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. The away record isn't the greatest, so I'd be getting my teeth sunk right into this one, and I think it's a game for Big Jordan White. There you go, I'm saying it already.
Oh, Danny, he worries me. Like, he really worries me.
Big Jordan White to bully Kai Rolls, I'm telling you right now.
To be honest, I'm 44. I could bully Kai Rolls. He's just not strong enough offensively. So I'm gonna do my prediction just now. I'm gonna be positive. Maybe it's hard over head here, but I'm gonna go. I think we'll get the same score as Tuesday. I'm gonna go Ross County 1, Hearts 2.
I'll go for a 1-1 there, Graham. 1 apiece.
You're getting splinters there, pal. Again. Well, let's go on to
how'd you get a wheelchair on a fence? I don't know. I'm joking.
A hard one. Let's go to as we know's beloved St Mirren. St Mirren sitting second, done a great job so far. Obviously disappointing another day against Hibs, but they take on Kilmarnock tomorrow at Rugby Park. Very difficult. I think you mentioned earlier on, this is a hard game to call. Kilmarnock, they've had a kind of up and down season. St Mirren have been excellent so far. This is a very hard game to call, but I think this could be entertaining.
Oh, I think there'll be goals in it. Put it that way. I think it's a game that's got goals in it. And I'd like to ask, as we know, a question. What are St Mirren putting in Mikael Mandron's lunches? Because the player that he is at St Mirren is nowhere near the player that he was at Motherwell. And I think that might be down to just the style that Stephen Robinson employs. He likes strikers that are very physical, and maybe the fact that Mandron is one of the main strikers in that St Mirren side, with his Bears, it was kind of a Van Veen was the focal point and Mandron was just up there to support them. Maybe that's why you're seeing him flourish this season. But no, St Mirren v Kilmarnock, I would still be going there with a lot of confidence if I was a St Mirren supporter tomorrow, because it's not the same Rugby Park that Kilmarnock had last season. I mean, Derek McInnes talked about at the start of the season how the results against teams out with the Old Firm were very good at home last year. Well, I think they've only beaten the Old Firm at home this year and not got a result against anybody else. So it's quite the opposite. So they really need a result at home, because for Kilmarnock to be anywhere up near the top of the league and challenging, then they need to be winning games at home, particularly against sides like St Mirren. But I don't know. I look at this one and it's one that I fancy St Mirren to do really well in. I don't know. What do you think of that? As we know, are you thinking that maybe tomorrow is going to be a tough game for you? He's just saying about Mandron here. I don't know. He's aging muscled up a bit. You still wait for Big Jonah to come back. I know he's for him to come back, but you're right. He does look different physically to what he did when he was at Motherwell. You said he's muscled up a wee bit. I think he looks a wee bit leaner. He certainly looks as if he's been quicker when he has got the ball.
Sorry guys, my other earpods. That's right. Sorry. My other earpods ran out of battery, so I have to go and get new ones. So I'm back now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just on you go.
I was just saying that I think that the problem for Kilmarnock is that Derek McInnes has said that they were looking to get results against Old Firm at home this season, because the results against other teams have been really good. Well, they've had the opposite this season, where they've got 2 wins against Old Firm but can't buy a win against anybody else. So it's huge for them to get a result tomorrow. But I'd be going in really confident if I was a St Mirren fan.
Yeah, I mean, I was disappointed obviously last week, but I was very impressed with St Mirren. I thought they played very well. I was impressed with, again, he seems to score all the time against Hearts, but Ryan Strain looked really good as well. And I genuinely, and I said this on the show last week, and I'm not going to be biased here, St Mirren, I don't understand how 2 of the goals got disallowed, because the challenge from Mandron and Kent is not a free kick. The offside goal that they got was not offside. So I was very impressed with St Mirren last week.
No, I thought the offside goal was very harsh as well. I don't know whether they're drawing these lines. Obviously, Hearts got a chance at the end with Shankland, but it was a thoroughly convincing performance for the Buddies against Hearts, and Stephen Robinson knows how to get results away from home, and I think it'll be the same tomorrow. I'm going St Mirren 2-0 tomorrow. And I've no just stole as we know's prediction there.
We've got to say your pepper homework.
That was genuinely what I think. I'm in full agreement with.
As Lino says, I think St Mirren will win tomorrow. Killie are a bit flat in some way. They seem to lack something. And that's kind of what I spoke about earlier on. I just think, for me, and I mentioned it earlier on the show, they just lack that killer instinct in front of goal. I mentioned Vassell is a good player, but he just doesn't score enough goals. And I think as well, you saw against Hearts on Tuesday, I thought second half come on it were better. But again, it's just in front of goal. They look a bit, they just don't look clinical enough. And again, I know it's a while now, but Kilmarnock, when they had Kyle Lafferty, looked a real threat. They don't have that now. They've obviously not got Ollie Shaw there. He's away at Motherwell now. They just lack that bit of physical presence and a bit that clinical striker up front. And I think tomorrow, it's a big game for both teams because Kilmarnock need to pick up points as well. You know, they're sitting 8th at the moment on 6 points. It's a big game for both teams, but if I was going to stick my neck on the line, having watched what I've seen so far, I probably would fancy St Mirren to win tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think January's massive for Kilmarnock. Whether Derek McInnes, I'm sure they will get to January. I just think that you're going to be looking at them sitting about 9th or 10th come January and saying that's what they've really been missing is that they need a striker, and they'll probably dip into the loan market. I don't know if Sam Cosgrove eventually found a club, but that's maybe somebody they could maybe look at bringing in. It's somebody that Derek McInnes knows well, and somebody that he'd maybe be looking to link up with. He's at Barnsley at the minute. I've just quickly googled that, so he's at Barnsley, unfortunately, but they certainly need somebody like him and who can get them goals.
I mean, in terms of St Mirren again, just to get on back to St Mirren a bit for a minute, obviously looking at St Mirren sitting second just now, Motherwell sitting fourth, do you think that both St Mirren and Motherwell could be in that top six? There's no reason it can't happen.
I think we'll definitely be up there in contention for top six. You're going to really not like me again, but at Hearts, Aberdeen and Hibs, there's always one that kind of tends to miss out. And I think if I'm looking at it just now, I can only say that it's going to be Hearts. I can't say that it's going to be anybody else. I still think Aberdeen have shown this week that they can get results, and when they're not in Europe, they'll do well. And as you say, I've yet to see any identity from Hearts, so I think that Motherwell and St Mirren will be right up there, and Hibs are only a centre half away for becoming a real force.
Well, this unfortunately Stephen's last show we'll ever see from him again after that comment. No, I'm joking. To be honest, I can't. I want to disagree with you, but I'm just not seeing enough from Hearts just now. Things could change very easily and very quickly, but I just want to see better from Hearts. But yeah, I think tomorrow, I'm probably going to go 2-1 St Mirren. I just think they've got something about them that I quite like, and obviously they scored 2 goals against Hibs at Easter Road, so I think they might just sneak it tomorrow. But a difficult game on that, and I hate saying this again, but honestly, I'm sorry, Kilmarnock fans, but I really hate that plastic pitch.
Oh, it's horrible. As is Livingston's. I can't really remember when I've seen good games at them on the pitches, honestly.
Well, we've got 2 games to go, and we've actually managed to do well because it's about 10-5, so we've done really well. 10-7, sorry. Let's go to Easter Road. Talked about Nick Montgomery. Hibs sitting 5th against Dundee in 9th. Hibs having the new manager bounce, if you like to say. I think you've got to probably be expecting Hibs win tomorrow at Easter Road. I
think it'll be a really convincing performance from Hibs tomorrow, to be honest with you. I just think they'll get goals all over their team. Vente, Boyle, I think Yuan will come on to a game. And what Nick Montgomery has is he's got over Lee Johnson. Lee Johnson sometimes would get results that would make you lure you into a false sense of security and make you believe that he was some sort of manager. But what Nick Montgomery seems to have is a tactical identity and a plan. You can really see what they're trying to do. So, I think Hibs are going to be a team that are just going to go on a bit of a run at the minute, if I'm being honest. And I think that will continue with a win at Dundee tomorrow. Although I will say Dundee will still get chances.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mentioned earlier. I do still think that Hibs do give up chances. They obviously lost 2 goals to St Mirren. I do think against St Johnstone got in a few times with balls over the top. They lost 2 goals against Kilmarnock. So I do think defensively there's a bit suspect there, which I'm sure we're going to look to sort out. But going forward, they are looking at a massive threat. They look like they've got goals. And for me, I spoke to Michael about this as well before. I think before, if you look at Hibs, you're thinking, right, if you take Martin Boyle out of the team, they might struggle. But now, you've just touched on it there. They've got Venti, they've got Yuan, they've got Adam Lafondra. They look a far, far better threat going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at times Montgomery, what am I getting Fotheringham to? Is brought back the 4-4-2, if I'm not mistaken. It's good to see that coming back. But no, he seems to be getting these players in positions where they can really, really hurt teams. And one player that you forgot to mention there, who I think is great as well, is Joe Newell. I think he's fantastic for them. Really makes things tick in the middle of that pitch and gets players like your Boyles or Yuans, Lafondras, Venti, gets them in positions where they can go and hurt teams. And listen, they get a good centre half in January. I think they'll be well within touches of a European spot.
Yeah, as Lino says, why does the top league in our land allow plastic? There's a lovely grass pitch in Dingwall, but somehow it's too difficult in the heart of Ayrshire, and I kind of agree with that. I mean, we touched on it before, but I just don't think plastic pitches are good for the big league in Scotland. I've always said that, and Michael said that as well, but that's probably for another show. But I think looking at Dundee tomorrow, obviously I had 2-2 draw against Keller last week, but we showed a lot of heart and fight with 10 men to get back in that game. Do you think there's any chance they could make it difficult for Hibs tomorrow?
I mean, it is Hibs that we're talking about at the end of the day, and in Hibs' history, they're notorious for Hibsing it, as the term is. That there's a reason that has become a phrase within Scottish football, because there's so many times you just expect Hibs to win, do the job, and Dundee could go there tomorrow and win 3-0 and absolutely shock game. You could be like, where does that came from? But I think I've been a bit unfair to Dundee there, because as much as I've tipped Hibs to get the win, Dundee are still a good side. There's only really one side in the league at the minute that I go, oh, and it's St Johnstone. The rest of the teams are, I think, as you say, they're thereabouts. I just think some of them would be a wee bit stronger than others. But Dundee have got players that can hurt you, and Hibs will need to be wary of that tomorrow.
Yeah, I kind of feel that Hibs will probably win the game comfortably, if I'm going to be honest. I'm probably going to say 3-0 at Hibs tomorrow.
Just because Hibs concede chances, I'm going to go 3-1, possibly 3-2, but my prediction is 3-1 just because of how weak Hibs are defensively.
Yeah, and the final game of the weekend is, I've left this game till last because I don't really know what I can say to top this game up, I'm going to be honest. St Johnstone against Livingston. St Johnstone sitting 12th in the league. Livingston sitting 10th. St Johnstone last week on the back of a 2-0 defeat to Hibs. Hibs very comfortable. Obviously, Livingston beaten Cena by Celtic last week. I genuinely think this game could potentially finish 0-0, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I think that the way that you've led us into talk about this game sums up everything about the two teams. Uninspiring, flat. There's not much you can really say about them, is there? They've not really given you much to talk about in terms of this season. So I think it's huge for St Johnstone, huge, because if they don't win this tomorrow, then they're starting to look a wee bit adrift for me, because although they're on the same amount of points as Aberdeen will kick on. They absolutely will kick on. So they really need to win this one tomorrow at home to Livingston.
Do you see any positive signs from St Johnstone so far this season? Because there have been moments in games they've looked all right. But again, a bit like I spoke about with likes of Kilmarnock and that as well, they don't have a striker. They don't have a striker that's going to score goals.
Moments aren't good enough. To stay up, you need to be able to put a run together. And I really don't see St Johnstone being able to go on a run of fixtures where they go unbeaten for that length of time. And that's why I really, really worry for them. And I think that they're almost certainties for the drop already. I think that if anybody's going to nick this tomorrow, possibly be 1-0 Livingston, but I can't not agree with you and as we know and say that it's screaming 0-0 for me. Screaming 0-0.
At the start of the season, we basically all gave our predictions, and I think I might have even said that I think the first managerial candidate might be Stephen McLean, but it was Lee Johnson. Maybe not a surprise there. Do you think Stephen McLean has got many more games left in him before St Johnstone think, actually, this ain't working?
Yeah, especially if he loses tomorrow. I mean, I'm just going to, while I'm talking here, look at the fixtures that they do have coming up. I mean, they're away to, there you go. So they're away to Aberdeen next week. So if Aberdeen do lose at Ibrox and St Johnstone don't lose, there you go. Both that's a 6-pointer already next week. But so they're away to Aberdeen, and then they've got us at home. So you would have to say, and I don't think I'm being biased, that you would expect Motherwell to go and roll them over. At McDermott Park. And so you look at the fixtures coming up, where are they going to get results from if they don't get one tomorrow? But then on the other hand, if they do sack him, who do they bring in? Because there's nobody out there at the minute that really jumps out at you and goes, okay, we'll sack Stephen McLean and we'll go and get him and bring him in. And who is going to want to come in to that St Johnstone side in the situation that they're in with the players that they've got at their disposal? It's not exactly an attractive proposition, is it?
Yeah, and again, another thing as well that concerns me slightly, and again, this is no disrespect to St Johnstone and Motherwell, or St Johnstone and Livingston, sorry, but I think you're looking at a very low crowd for that game tomorrow.
Yeah, and listen, fair play to the teams that do go, but you're talking 2,000 if you're lucky there tomorrow, 2,500, I think. They're not the most well-supported clubs, but listen, they've earned the right to be in the big league, be getting performances on the pitch, so you can't begrudge them, mate. I just, it's not exactly a glamour tie, is it?
What do you expect from Livingston tomorrow? Because we touched on it earlier on the show, they now have the new investment. Obviously, they can't do much about that till January. But what are you expecting from them tomorrow after a disappointing 4-0 defeat against Rangers? On the back of a disappointing 3-0 defeat to Celtic last week, what do you expect from Livingston tomorrow?
A reaction. I think that they did go to Dingwall and get a point, which is a good point for them. So these are the kind of games that Livingston will be judged on. The games against your St Johnstone's, your Ross Counties. This week when they've played Celtic and Rangers, I think they can almost kind of scrub those games off as if, all right, what's expected to happen there's happened. We've got beaten 2 of the games. So they'll be looking for the reaction tomorrow, and they'll smell blood because it's a St Johnstone side that's been struggling.
You know what happened? I've just called it a 0-0 draw. It'll be a 5-all. It'll be an absolute classic. There'll be loads of goals, 3 sending off. Barrow get involved, and it'll be an unbelievable game. But I hope that does happen because we want to talk about Sunday. But yeah, I just sort of see this game being an absolute classic. I hope I'm wrong. But yeah, it's a busy fixture calendar coming up. Obviously, as well, tomorrow, just to touch very quickly on the fact that Scotland Rugby play tomorrow in another World Cup game. They play Romania. After a win last week, 45-17 against Tonga, Scotland need to win tomorrow again against Romania with a bonus point to have any chance. They play Ireland next week in a massive game. Actually, the 7th of, I think it's 7th of October, that is. So yeah, massive games coming up for Scotland. Hopefully they can get a win tomorrow. We will be back on Sunday, or certainly I will be. I think Michael's vanished off at the wonders into another universe, I think. I'll be back on Sunday for after-match reaction from the games tomorrow. It just remains for me to thank everyone for your comments. And again, massive thank you, as always, to Stephen for joining me. Stephen, thank you very much, mate.
No problem. I've enjoyed it, as always.
Superb. And thank you to Dave, who was here for a little bit, but then wandered off as well. But yeah, thank you to all your comments. We will be back on Sunday from 5 o'clock, from 3 till 5. But there's no games for me to talk about on Sunday during the live show because there's no games on Sunday. But yeah, thank you guys for all your comments. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we shall see you on Sunday. Bye bye.
The Locker Room, with all the sports news you need. Live